Welcome to Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is starting to get into things like decisions, actually giving you a choice, giving the program a choice to do certain things. That's kind of the meat and potatoes of programming, be able to go in and give someone a choice to go A or B or so on and so forth. So if we take a look at the very first example they have in the book, now it, before we continue on, just want to point out on page 111, at the bottom of that page is table 3-1, and it talks about the relational operators. So whenever we have an if statement, we're going to do things like, is A equal to B, is A greater than B, is A greater than or equal to B, is A less than B, less than or equal to B. So there's a whole lot of different comparison operators that we're going to basically get into and look at. And we're going to look at things like not equal to and those types of things. So if we take a look at this example in the book, well, this is the average score. So here's the class, and here is our first method. It's the public void main, and you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different variables. First 4 are doubles, the last one is a string, and we go ahead and get the information from each one of those from the user, from the input. So we're using a J option pane, which is a little dialog box, and we go ahead and get score 1, score 2, score 3, and then we go ahead and do a calculation. We take the average is equal to score 1 plus score 2 plus score 3 divided by 3.0. Now, since we have 3 doubles and we need to divide by a double literal, whenever we use a double literal or float literal, we have to have a decimal point, in this case a 0.0. So then we show the average. Then at the very bottom we have an if statement. Now the if statement basically looks like this. We have if, left parenthesis, and a right parenthesis. And our comparison operator, our comparison statement should say, is going to be inside of that. So we have our average greater than 95. If it is, we're going to say that's a great score. Now, what if that statement is not true? Well, there's no else statement, which we'll get to in here in just a second. If that statement is not true, it's not going to do anything. And notice that we have our system exit at the end. So if I go ahead and run this, I'm going to run as a Java application. It's going to ask me for score 1. I'll say 75. I'll say 85. And I'm going to say 95. So now when I run this, it says the average is 85, and nothing happened because the average in this case, which we all know, is 85. So if I run it again, I'm going to put in 90. I'm going to put in 100, and I'm going to put in 97. So we average that out. It says the average is 95.66666. I click OK, and it says that's a great score. So it ended up being greater than 95, so that if statement basically came into play. So a simple if statement, no big deal. Notice that there is no semicolon at the end of that if statement. The semicolon is at the end of the actual statement. Okay. So, greater than, less than, all those kind of good things. Now, now in this case, this example right here, we have one statement. We have one statement inside of the if statement. Since we have that, there's no braces, there's no anything. So what happens if I want to do multiple statements inside of my if statement? Well, I now have to show a beginning and an end. So if we take a look at the next example, the next example is the division statement. So if we take a look at division, here the name of this is division. We have a static void main. We've got 3 variables, a double, number 1, number 2, a quotient, and then I go ahead, instead of using the J option pane, the little dialog boxes, I'm going to actually type my information down here into the console. So here I've set up my scanner keyboard. I'm telling it to enter a number. I'm going to go ahead and get that number. Okay, so this is kind of a little review, but if we take a look at our if statement now, I've got if number 2 equals 0. Now notice I've got an equal. Well, in this case right here, I want to make sure that it's exactly a 0 that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for anything else in this case. So I'm trying to find out where in the book it shows that. But I'm really trying to specifically get down to exactly what it basically is equal to. So yeah, so I'll see if I can find the exact dialogue, what it basically means, whether we have just an equal or a double equal. Okay, so so if we take a look, I've got if number 2 is equal to 0, then I've got an open brace and ending brace. Now since I'm going to have multiple statements with multiple semicolons, I have to basically have a beginning brace and an ending brace. I have an ending brace. So now I could have done this in my average score. I could have done this. I could have said okay, so anyways, so I have a beginning brace, and then I can go ahead and add an ending brace. Now, since we just had one statement inside of the if statement, I did not need those braces since I just had one statement. So, but since I had multiple statements here, I do need the ending or the beginning and ending braces. Now if we look, in this case we've got an else statement. So what it says is, if this statement is true, then let's go ahead and do these 3 statements. If this statement is false, then you're going to drop down into this else statement. Now again, if we had just one statement here, I would not need the beginning and ending braces. But since I do have multiple lines, I do need the beginning and ending braces. Okay, so so if we take a look at this one, what we're basically saying is if number 2, so if this number 2 is equal to 0, so here's what we're trying to do. This is a big, huge no-no in the programming world. Programming world says we can never, ever, 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 did I mention ever? We cannot ever divide by 0. So, so basically what we're saying is, hey, I'm getting 2 numbers. I'm getting a number from the user and a second number from the user. I'm taking the first one divided by the second number. I'm checking to see if it's equal to 0. If it is, then I'm saying, sorry, we cannot divide by 0. And please run this program again and enter the second number that is not a 0. If it's not a 0, then it goes ahead and does the else statement and goes to the equation. So if we run this, so I'm going to run as a Java application, and let me save it first. And it says enter a number, so I'm going to enter in 54. I hit the enter key, and second number I'm going to go ahead and enter 0. Let's see what happens. It comes up, says division by 0 is not possible. Please run the program again and enter another number other than 0. So not a problem. So we've actually, this program has stopped now. I go ahead and click again, enter a number. I'm going to type in 54. Enter a number. I'm going to type in 8, and it basically says the quotient of 54 divided by 8 is 6.75. So, if else statement, multiple lines, we have to use braces. Now, we can use the braces all the time. I kind of get in that habit because it's just something I've been doing. But I always use braces, but you don't have to. Okay. So, continuing on, we now have what is called the nested if. Let's go ahead and stop that right here, and we'll get back to that in the next video lecture. So we'll see you in a bit.